Shaker Church Covenant. Preamble. We, the brethren and sisters of the United Society of Believers called Shakers, residing in the county of Cumberland and state of Maine, being connected together as a religious and social community, distinguished by the name and title of the Church of the United Society in the town of New Gloucester, which for many years has been established and in successful operation under the charge of the ministry and eldership thereof, and feeling the importance not only of renewing and confirming our spiritual covenant with God and each other, but also of renewing and improving our social compact and amending the written form thereon, do make, ordain, and declare the following articles of agreement as a summary of the principles, rules, and regulations established in the Church of the said United Society, which are to be kept and maintained by us, both in our collective and individual capacities, as a covenant or constitution which shall stand as a lawful testimony of our religious and social compact before all men and in all cases of question and law relating to the possession and improvement of our united and consecrated interest, property, and estate. Article 1 of the Gospel Ministry, Section 1, Their Origin, Call, and Institution. We solemnly declare to each other and to all whom it may concern that we have received and do hereby acknowledge as a foundation of our faith, order, and government the testimony or gospel of Christ in his first and second appearing, and we do hereby solemnly agree to support and maintain the true primitive faith and Christian principles, the morals, rules, and manners pertaining to the said gospel as ministered by the founders of this society and kept and conveyed through a regular order of ministration down to the present day. And although as a religious society we are variously associated with respect to the local situations of our respective communities, yet we are known and distinguished as a peculiar people, and consider and acknowledge ourselves as members of one general community, possessing one faith and subject to one united parental and ministerial administration, which has been regularly supported from the first foundation pillars of the institution, and which continues to operate for the support, protection, and strength of every part of said community. Section 2, Their Order and Office. We further acknowledge and declare that for the purpose of promoting and maintaining union, order, and harmony throughout the various branches of this community, the primary administration of parental authority has been settled in the first established ministry at New Lebanon, New York, there to rest and remain as the center of union to all who are in gospel relation and communion with the society. The established order of this ministry includes 4 persons, 2 of each sex. Section 3, Perpetuity of their office and how supplied. We further acknowledge and declare that the said primary administration of parental authority has been and is perpetuated as follows, namely, that the first in that office and calling possess the right given by that sanction of divine authority through the first founders of this society to prescribe or direct any regulation or appointment which they may judge most proper and necessary respecting the ministry or any other important matter which may concern the welfare of the church subsequent to their decease. But in case no such regulation or appointment be so prescribed or directed, then the right to direct and authorize such regulation and appointment devolves upon the surviving members of the ministry in council with the elders of the church or others as the nature of the case and their judgment may require. Such appointments being officially communicated to all concerned and receiving the general approbation of the church are confirmed and supported in the society. This is agreeable to the example recorded in the Scriptures and continued by the founders of this society, and is the order and manner which has been regularly practiced, acknowledged, and maintained in the community from the beginning. Section 4 of the ministerial office in the several societies or communities. We further acknowledge and declare, covenant, and agree that the ministerial office and authority in any society or community of our faith which has emanated, or which may emanate, in a regular line of order from the center of the union aforesaid, is and shall be acknowledged, owned, and respected as the spiritual and primary authority of such society or community in all matters pertaining to the ministerial office. And in case of the decease or removal of any individual of said ministry in any such society, his or her lot and place shall be filled by agreement of the surviving ministers, in council with the elders and others, as the nature of the case may require, together with the knowledge and approbation of the primary ministerial authority at New Lebanon, New York, aforesaid, to which they are responsible. Section 5. Powers and duties of the ministry. The ministry being appointed and established as aforesaid are vested with the primary authority of the church and its various branches. Hence it becomes their special duty to guide and superintend the spiritual concerns of the society as a body of people under their care and government, and in connection with the elders in their respective families and departments, who shall act in union with them, to give and establish such orders, rules, and regulations as may be found necessary for the government and protection of the church and society within the limits of their jurisdiction, and also to counsel, advise, and judge in all matters of importance, whether spiritual or temporal. The said ministry are also invested with authority in connection with the elders, as aforesaid, to nominate and appoint to offices ministers, elders, deacons, and trustees, and to assign offices of care and trust to such brethren and sisters as they, the said ministers and elders, shall judge to be best qualified for the several offices to which they may be appointed. And we do hereby covenant and agree that such nominations and appointments, being made and officially communicated to those concerned, and receiving the general approbation of the church or of the families concerned, shall thenceforth be confirmed and supported until altered or revoked by the authority aforesaid. Article 2. Institution of the Church. Section 1. The object and design of church relation. We further acknowledge and declare that the great object, purpose, and design of our uniting ourselves together as a church or body of people in social and religious compact is faithfully and honestly to occupy, improve, and diffuse the various gifts and talents, both of a spiritual and temporal nature, with which divine wisdom has blessed us, for the service of God, for the honor of the gospel, and for the mutual protection, support, comfort, and happiness of each other as brethren and sisters in the gospel, and for such other pious and charitable purposes as the gospel may require. Section 2. Who are not admissible into church relation. As the unity, stability, and purity of the church essentially depend on the character and qualification of its members, and as it is a matter of importance that it should not be encumbered with persons who are under any involvement or incapacity, natural or moral, therefore no member of any company or association in business or civil concern, no co-partner in trade, no person under any legal embarrassment or obligations of service, no minor, no slave or bondservant, no insane person, no profane person, nor any person who lives in the willful violation of the known and acknowledged principles of moral conduct shall be deemed qualified for admission into the covenant relation and communion of the church. Section 3. Preparation for admission into church relation. In order that believers may be prepared for entering into the sacred privilege of church relation, it is of primary importance that sufficient opportunity and privilege should be afforded under the ministry of the gospel for them to acquire suitable instruction in the genuine principles of righteousness, honesty, justice, and true holiness, and also they should prove their faith and Christian morality by their practical obedience to the principles of the gospel according to their instructions. It is also indispensably necessary for them to receive the one uniting Spirit of Christ and to become so far of one heart and one mind that they are willing to sacrifice all other relations for this sacred one. Another essential step is to settle all just and equitable claims of creditors and filial heirs, so that whatever property they may possess shall be justly their own. When this is done and they feel themselves sufficiently prepared to make a deliberate and final choice, to devote themselves with all they possess wholly to the service of God without reserve, and it shall be deemed proper by the leading authority of the church, after examination and due consideration, to allow them to associate together in the capacity of a church, or a branch thereof in the gospel order, they may then consecrate themselves and all they possess to the service of God forever, and confirm the same by signing and sealing a written covenant, predicated upon the principles herein contained, and fulfilling on their part all its obligations. Section 4. Admission of new members. As a door must be kept open for the admission of new members into the church when duly prepared, it is agreed that each and every person who shall at any time after the date and execution of the church covenant in any branch of the community be admitted into the church as a member thereof shall previously have a fair opportunity to obtain a full, clear, and explicit understanding of the object and design of the church covenant and of the obligations it enjoins upon the members. For this purpose, he or she shall, in the presence of 2 of the deacons or acting trustees of the church, read or hear the same distinctly read, so as to be able freely to acknowledge his or her full approbation and acceptance thereof in all its parts. Then he, she, or they, as the case may be, shall be at liberty to sign the same, and having signed and sealed it, and being subject to all the obligations required of the original signers, shall thenceforth be entitled to all the benefits and privileges thereunto appertaining, and the signature or signatures thus added shall be certified by the said deacons or trustees together with the date thereof. Section 5. Concerning youth and children. Youth and children, being minors, cannot be received as members of the church, possessing a consecrated interest in a united capacity. Yet it is agreed that they may be received under the immediate care and government of the church, at the desire or consent of such person or persons as have a lawful right to or control of such minors, together with their own desire or consent. But no minor, under the care of the church, can be employed therein for wages of any kind. Article 3 of the Trusteeship, Section 1. Appointment, qualifications, and powers of the trustees. It has been found necessary for the establishment of order in the society in its various branches that superintending deacons and deaconesses should be appointed and authorized to act as trustees or agents of the temporalities of the church. They must be recommended by honesty and integrity, their fidelity in trust, and their capacity for the transaction of business. Of these qualifications, the ministry and elders must be the judges. The official trustees of the church are generally known among us by the title of office deacons, of which there must be 2 or more, and being appointed by the authority aforesaid, they are invested with power to take the general charge and oversight of all the property, estate, and interest, dedicated, devoted, consecrated, and given up for the benefit of the church, to hold in trust the fee of all the lands belonging to the church, also all gifts, grants, and donations which have been or may be hereafter dedicated, devoted, consecrated, and given up as aforesaid, and the said property, estate, interest, gifts, grants, and donations shall constitute the united and consecrated interest of the church, and shall be held in trust by the said deacons as acting trustees in their official capacity, and by their successors in said office and trust forever. Section 2. Duties of the trustees. It is and shall be the duty of the said deacons or acting trustees to improve, use, and appropriate the said united interest for the benefit of the church in all its departments, and for such other religious and charitable purposes as the gospel may require, and also to make all just and equitable defense in the law for the protection and security of the consecrated and united interest, rights, and privileges of the church and society, jointly and severally as an associated community, as far as circumstances and the nature of the case may require. provided, nevertheless, that all the transactions of the said deacons or acting trustees in the use, management, protection, defense, and disposal of the aforesaid interest shall be for the benefit and privilege and in behalf of the church or society as aforesaid, and not for any private interest, object, or purpose whatever. Section 3. Trustees to give information and be responsible to the ministry and elders. It also shall be the duty of the trustees to give information to the ministry and elders of the church of the general state of the temporal concerns of the church and society committed to their charge, and also to report to the said authority all losses sustained in the united interest thereof, which shall come under their cognizance. And no disposal of any real estate of the church, nor any important contract shall be considered valid without the previous approbation of the authority aforesaid, to whom the said deacons and trustees are and shall at all times be held responsible in all their transactions. Section 4. Books of account and records to be kept. It shall also be the duty of the deacons or acting trustees to keep or cause to be kept regular books of account, in which shall be entered the debt and credit accounts of all mercantile operations and business transactions between the church and others, all receipts and expenditures, bonds, notes, and bills of account, and all other matters that concern the united interest of the church, and also a book or books of records in which shall be recorded a true and correct copy of this covenant. Also all appointments, removals, and changes in office of ministry, elders, deacons, and trustees. All admissions, removals, departures, and decease of members, together with all other matters and transactions of a public nature, which are necessary to be recorded for the benefit of the church, and for the preservation and security of the documents, papers, and written instruments pertaining to the united interest and concerns of the church committed to their charge. And the said record shall be annually inspected by the leading authority of the church, who, together with the trustees, shall be the official auditors of the same, and the signature of one or more of said auditors, with a date of inspection and approval, shall be deemed sufficient authority for the correctness and validity of the facts and matters so recorded.